Panthers underdogs in Tampa Bay against a Bucs team that's fallen off a cliff. They've lost 4 in a row and 7 of their last 8 since the bye. Baker's also banged up. I like happy Baker. More on the line tomorrow. Bryce or Baker, Greg?
Bryce Young. Look, I understand. We know who Baker is. I don't think that Baker losing this game, we're going to all of a sudden say, you know what? Baker's back to the old Baker, even though he's playing through injury.
Who's the real Baker? The MVP candidate Baker or this Baker?
I think the last couple years, that's Baker. Okay. He's playing through injury. We've seen him try to play through injury in Cleveland.
He's not good with. He's not a good play through injury.
He's not. We've seen that version. Yeah. With that being said, this is Bryce Young. The writing has been on the wall. Like, either you are the guy or you aren't. Now, the writing that I'm talking about that's been on the wall is you're not the guy. So at least add something to this wall that makes us doubt what we've been writing on the wall.
Every once in a while, he's like, maybe you are the guy.
Exactly. And if he wins in this moment, then he just buys himself a little more time. Because he's not, and unfortunately, because he's played so poorly in his first few years, you don't get the sense of it's over, it's absolutely over, because he's had moments and he's a first-round draft pick. He's going to get a chance down the road. Maybe we've seen it happen. But for this franchise, you got to win because the writing has been on the wall. You haven't delivered at all, and you have an opportunity to deliver against Baker Mayfield and this Bucs team that's been kind of spiraling. You got to come through.
I agree with a lot of what you said. I disagree. I'm not sure we know who Baker is unless we think he's just up and down. You know, maybe the injuries is the reason for this whole thing. But I do agree with you that Bryce has more on the line. And even if they make the playoffs, we still aren't like he's the guy. Like you said, it just buys you some time. Here, I mean, right now he looks like not a good quarterback. I mean, these are his ranks. Even in a year where they're winning.
This is his best season.
Now I credit him in that he has improved every season. It's a slow thing, but he has improved all 3 years. But if they lose this game and it was just what would they be, 8-9 season? Even if they win it, make the playoffs, and get beat in the first round, if I'm Carolina, they're probably looking at, do we just bring somebody in, a la Indianapolis, a Daniel Jones type? Maybe it's Malik Willis. If they could get a Mac Jones, I don't know, Kyler Murray, but bring somebody in to push him and compete, see who wins the job. But that's best case scenario. Like, we don't know that he's the guy. He needs to win to try to buy himself another chance.
He just has to win. He just has to win this game. There's no, how much more time are we going to give Bryce? Coaches and time. He's won every other game since October 19th. So every time he has a bad game, he pops with a good game. I don't believe in him. They beat the Rams. Oh, I don't know if I believe him.
A Bryce good game.
Right. He's only had 3 games of 200 or more yards.
But then he'll go down and have a 45-yard game. This is a mandatory win for Bryce. Just quickly on this graphic, I know you like number 1 picks. This is it. This is year 3. So it's not like, well, I finally made it in year 4. QB drafted number 1 in the last 10 years, first playoff appearance. Goff 2, Baker 3,
all
Kyler
of them
3,
made it.
Burrow
Wow.
2, Trevor 2, Bryce, we're still waiting. Caleb 2, Cam's not going to make it. But if it's Cam in year 3 and he doesn't make it, you would think,
So
that is interesting.
The yards per attempt and their yards per game kill me for Bryce. So I know, Brew, you and I might value upper end yard per game totals differently, but the guys who aren't throwing with regularity for 200 yards per game in the modern NFL, you just can't win that way. And it is all dink and dunk stuff, and it has been his whole career. So this is what I would argue. You should not make a decision based on one game.
No.
They know he's not the guy.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is, if the Panthers would be like, if we lose this game, here's going to be our path forward at quarterback, then even if you win it, that should be your path forward at quarterback. Now, if you win it and then he goes on a magical playoff run and then reserve the right to change your opinion there. But there's also a scenario where they lose, he plays poorly, But then the Falcons win Sunday, and they're in the playoffs anyway. Because the Panthers go if they win or if the Falcons win. They have a fifth-year option decision on Bryce this summer. I would not be picking that up.
Micah Parsons recovering from his ACL, but his tweet game already in peak form, ready to start the season. If tweeting was the game. A few tweets here. Here's one. Defending his new teammate, Trayvon Diggs, who, after PFF said, here's some bad stats about him. Just give the man a farewell. It wasn't related to the Cowboys, nevertheless. He has another one here with laughing emojis. After Matt Eberflus admitted things changed for the defense when they lost an all-pro pass rusher who can win quick. But you can't look back. I actually thought that one was a compliment. And then Micah Parsons responded to people criticizing him. What, you want me to feel bad? Jerry Jones slandered my name to the Cowboys media and national media for months. So I do think I can react to comment if I want to, respectfully. Reaction to Micah's latest tweet storm.
I don't have any problem with what Micah did, but it pains me to say this. I feel like he's still hurt. Like, we all know, it's well documented, he wanted to be a Cowboy all his life until the day he died, in his words, you know? And so he's in a better football situation. He has a better chance of winning the Super Bowl. Obviously, he got huge money. But when you're injured and you're not, the team isn't looking as good and all that, that's when it sets in that I'm not a Cowboy. Because nothing, as good as Green Bay is historically, the Cowboys, like the Lakers, the Knicks just in name are big. The Celtics, it's like one of those prestigious franchises, and nothing matches the grandeur of being a Cowboy, even though they don't win. And I think now that he's hurt and out, I just think, again, I have no problem with what he's saying, but I think some of it's coming from, the pain that he's no longer a Cowboy.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it definitely it's sinking in when you're sideline and you now have to watch. You start listening to things, but I don't like it. I didn't like it because he was doing such a great job of just being locked in.
You thought he was going to say
I did too.
I thought for a minute.
Correction.
Yeah.
Is that why you look like
it?
Yeah, no, I really don't like it because he's been so dialed in and appearing to have moved on, rightfully so, because he was playing. And if he decides to engage and kind of allow his emotions to flood after the season, cool. Right now, Micah, your team is going to be entering into the postseason. Just generate all your resources to those guys who are going to be playing. I don't want to hear about this. I understand about the loyalty and feeling and still being in your feelings when you depart from a team and an organization, but there's nothing you can do about it now. Just deal with that in offseason.
I would feel like you do if he were still playing, like if he were healthy. But even him hurt, do you think this could affect the locker room?
No, I don't think it can affect the locker room, but I just don't think it's necessary right now because all the attention needs to be focused on how can we help these guys who are going to be filling in these big shoes be prepared to play a big game.
So that's why to me it is noteworthy that this did start. The genesis of this was a Cowboys beat reporter tweeted out Trayvon Diggs' PFF stats.
Oh, a Cowboy. Okay.
So that there was, and so
that makes sense.
And so which I don't think the beat reporter was doing anything wrong at all. I think he was making it clear,
why the Cowboys
moved on.
Yep.
But that is what. Then that's why Micah's like, move on. He was, because as we've talked about before, there is at times a confusion amongst athletes about what the beat reporters who are in the facility every week, what the actual job is. It was, who was it that said that? Shador, when he said questions like this don't, help us achieve our goals.
Right.
Yeah.
And that, so this all started because he was trying to support a former teammate who is now a current teammate because the Packers picked up Trayvon Diggs. So that's where it started. And I do think that Micah is allowed, and he's waited longer, and he still hasn't really fully done it, a victory lap. Jerry Jones was adamant this was a win-now move for the Dallas Cowboys, that they would be better because of Micah's deficiencies, that they were going to use those resources to sign other players. They did that. They used those resources to deal with, dead money, as it turns out, from bad contracts that he gave out, like Trayvon Diggs is. Use those draft picks to trade for other players like Quinnen Williams. And that team was mediocre all year, and the problem was its defense. And so, I still, whenever I think about this Cowboys season, I will think about the missed opportunity of unforced error in the Micah negotiations and moving on from one of the true game-wrecking defensive players of his generation, which he is. A guy who, even though he blew out his knee and didn't get to play the whole year, once again got his 12-plus sacks, which he's done every year of his career. You saw his impact even in the games when he had no stats because it felt like he was being double and triple teamed. And Micah all year long, it would have been, kind of talking about your ex when you're in a new relationship, and it wouldn't have been productive if during the year he had been tweeting out Cowboys defensive numbers and things like that. But because
wild.
You didn't think that was possible when they traded him, we thought he might still do his podcast. I thought that it could be a story all year long.
Yeah.
He stopped doing the podcast. He didn't talk about it at all. And then, he took this opportunity. But I do think Jerry talked more about Micah post-trade than Micah did about Jerry. So I thought it was in bounds.
I don't think Jerry regrets the trade. Although I think if Micah was still there, they had a great chance of making the playoffs.
Correct. Yeah.
But I don't think Jerry regrets it.
No, on the fan, this is from John Machota, from Jerry. I'd love to have Micah on the team. We just couldn't afford him. We wanted 4 to 5 players more than we did him. But he's outstanding, and I understand his sensitivity and can even understand these comments.
Yeah, the 4 to 5 players thing is just a misnomer. It's just like, it's just, you can't say you wanted 4 to 5 players for Micah Parsons when you ended up trading 3/4 of what you got back from Micah Parsons for one player in Quinnen Williams. To me, that logic falls apart.
Myles Garrett going for the sack record. His target, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's playing out the year with no chance of making the playoffs. I do not think that was Aaron Rodgers' mindset last week. Burrow, since entering the league, has taken 240 sacks. So he's got his own record. That's the most since 2020 and took 545 hits as the 4th most. Brew, what does this mean if Myles doesn't sack Joe?
Well, first let me say, because you brought up Rodgers, Burrow, that's the mature way you should look at this. Like, this is not about Joe Burrow or whatever quarterback would get sacked on Myles Garrett's record-breaking sack. And Aaron Rodgers made it about himself. The only reason it's about Brett Favre with Strahan is because Brett Favre went down. If he didn't go down, abnormally, we wouldn't even be we might not even remember it was Brett Favre. So I just think that Rodgers that was the wrong mentality last week. Probably ego got in the way and all that. It really doesn't matter who he sacks. But as far as Myles Garrett, it'll be obviously a huge disappointment. And it's just because 6 weeks ago, he was on pace for about 27, and the record is 22.5. So if you look at his season, he had a 4-game stretch where he had 13 sacks. And that's what, made it oh my gosh. Beginning of the season, first 6 games, he had 5 sacks. These last 5 games, he's had 4, which is a good pace. That's 13 sacks a year. Would be in the top 5. But it was that 4-game stretch where it was oh my gosh. So now if he doesn't do it, it will feel like a failure. And so I hope he gets it. I think he'll get 2 sacks at least.
Wow.
Yeah, I think he's going to get 2 at least and break the record, but it'll feel like a failure if he doesn't get it, unfortunately. And he may never get this close again. So he's got to get it.
Yeah, I'm with you, bro. I think it'll be a disappointment. I said that. But also, what's frustrating about this is it would be a huge failure and disappointment as it pertains to the Browns offense. Because if you just can give him a lead, you talk about the games that when he started chasing this record 6 weeks ago, we were talking about, man, is he going to shatter it? Well, when you look at this Browns team and what they're not able to do, they're not able to play with the lead. So that leaves Myles Garrett Browns' second half this year. Right. Like, they have the 6th fewest defensive snaps. If you give him something to work with, which is a simple lead, not so simple for the Cleveland Browns, as we've all come to find out this season, then he clearly has this. So I think it's incumbent upon your guy who you picked in the upset alert, Shedeur Sanders, because he's going to have a big game, said Chris Broussard, to get this man the lead so we cannot see and feel this disappointment that we would all possibly have.
Yeah, I mean, failure feels like too harsh.
It won't be, but it'll feel that way.
It'll definitely be a disappointment because he had 20, he's sitting at 22 exactly. He had 21.5 after week 14. I'm sorry, after game 14, week 15. Because the games 16 or games 15 and 16, he had a combined half sack, and then we'll see. So if you have 3 weeks to get a sack and a half to break the record, when up to that point in time you're averaging a sack and a half a game, which is what he was, it will feel like a huge disappointment. And we haven't seen someone on a record that we care about be this close and then not close it. Like last year, Saquon's single-season rushing total record, remember, he punted on it, like to some level of controversy. And
it wasn't like he was way out in front of
way out in front of the pace. It was always going to be neck and neck. But I agree with Brew. I don't think they're going to win, but I think he's going to get it.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.